Step through this door with me and back into time when things were better. Hi everybody, and a warm welcome back to MapleLeafCustoms in Switzerland. I'm Andrew, and on the chair today is a big old cardboard box that I'm going to break down by cutting it and measuring it and taping it back together again into an old-fashioned throwback garage. I'm making a diorama today, mostly DIY. So I invite you to follow along, and maybe this will inspire some ideas for you on your own hobby bench. This is a bit of a departure from my regular routine of restoring or customizing 1:64 scale diecast cars, but in the end, variety is the spice of life, and I hope it'll serve as a backdrop for some glamour pics when I show off my own customs. So we're still in the same ballpark. Nostalgia has always been the driving force for me in getting into this hobby, and if all goes well today, this one should be a good reminder of my very first job pumping gas as a teenager at a super test gas station built by my grandfather, my dad, and his 3 brothers in rural Ontario, Canada. Now that the basic scale and shape has been determined, I'm going to use this corrugated cardboard, which I think is meant to pack dishes with, but cut down to size that's going to substitute for corrugated steel panels. I've drawn out this full jigsaw puzzle of the facade for my garage and numbered each one of these pieces. It's not going to be full depth, just the front and parts of the sides. And the arrangement of these will probably morph a little bit throughout the project. A base coat of gray primer should give the illusion that these started out as clean steel panels. Each one is numbered, remember? And they won't look this new for long. My base is a doubled up piece of the same original large cardboard box. I'll cover it with this spackling, and that'll be sturdy enough because there's almost no weight to this in the end. Next week I'm back to the diecast cars, starting with the October Four Horsemen Oktoberfest theme. I've got a Super Bird customization coming up, a pair of Mercury Cyclones, and a stunning resto mod on a Cougar XR7. I always appreciate your patronage, and if you're brand new to the channel and you like this kind of thing, why not give this video a thumbs up and get all subbed up too? That'd be so great. While my corrugated steel panels and the freshly stuccoed base are both drying, I went ahead and printed some 3D pieces that'll serve as extras around the outside of my garage. These all need to be primed as well and ultimately detailed with some hand brush painting. Back to the steel panels now, which may be the feature component of this build. I've got some cheap craft store acrylic paints here that I'm going to mix up into what will be my rust color to give it that well-aged look. There's no science here, these are just natural colors. And I've got some Vallejo powder pigments as well that will aid in creating a 3D bumpy relief. The main base color is this dark burnt umber. I started out trying this sponge application, but only went so far and decided it would be better to hand brush on the burnt umber base and then use the sponge later to apply the crimson and yellow highlights. Yeah, that's much better for getting down into the recesses of the corrugated cardboard. About 30 minutes of this, and I end up with rust effect fingers when it's all done. This will be my large sliding door, so I want that to be a different color. I went with yellow, but that's going to look well aged too when I'm all done. I'm feeling like this might work. Today's community shoutout goes to the YouTube channel ALFAR MINI SCALE. That includes lots of dioramas, a great source of inspiration for me. There's a link in the description of this video. Now I can start to put the jigsaw puzzle back together piece by numbered piece. Because it's cardboard on cardboard, I started doing my first dry fit using household straight pins to hold the pieces in place. And I decided quickly that's a good way to do the whole thing. I'm already pleased with the overall effect that I'm getting. This will be the first run on the roof. As I said, the pieces are going to change position and size a little bit throughout the process. And instead of doing them all in large, uniformly cut panels, I've decided to break it up and make it look like a few of them have been replaced over the years, all adding to that random and truthfully haphazard effect that I want to achieve. One pin can tack down two corners at once. Higher layers on top, lower panels, tuck underneath for rain runoff, of course. I need a little bit more overhang at the front, so I'll reposition those. And then with the same rusty paint, I go over the pin heads, which are bright silver and stand out too much. And of course, any nails would rust along with the panels. Alright, some adjustments required. I've got to straighten a couple of those, but that's really easy to do with this straight pen technique. Of course, you need some bird poop up top, where the pigeons would most often roost. That's achieved with splattering some white paint. And I use the same technique with some black and other colors. More random spatters representing all the dirt and stuff that's been kicked up on this old shed over the years. I'm going with a reddish-brown ground cover paint on my base. Same type of dollar store acrylics. Hand brushed on, doesn't need to look beautiful. In fact, messy is the code word here. A little bit more orange. And a couple of pebbles on top while it's still wet to give a gravel appearance. When those have dried up, I can then airbrush on some other streaks, lighter browns, darker shades, couple of oil spills here and there. It's all coming together. Now to give some much needed life and realism to my 3D printed pieces, beginning with this old wooden fence that's got some open gaps in it here and there. I made some scale size pallets. There's my front door. And a vintage Coca-Cola machine. Gotta have one of those out front. And some vintage signage. That was fun searching Google Images for these. Already rusted up. I printed these on some heavier cardstock to give the illusion of being tin signs. This is a random placement. I'll fiddle around with that, and this is what I came up with in the end. We're getting there. You know what would look good behind the garage? A telephone pole. I cobbled this one together with some bits and pieces that were laying around. And that, my friends, is the sum total of my knowledge of public utilities. Here are all my extra bits, mostly 3D printed, but the gas pumps came from another store-bought diorama. There's a tire rack. Some big garbage bins. Random oil drums. I made some tall LPG gas tanks. Couple of hand trolleys. This one's red. That one's black. Air compressors, big wooden crates. There's my pumps. Pallets are just strewn about here. And you can see a couple of lamp posts on either side of the base and a tiny light up above the garage sign. Those are LED lights that I got from Temu. First time I've tried to light something up. Well, let's zoom in and have a closer look from some different angles of the garage diorama. You can see some weeds and uncut brush around the perimeter of the building. Scattered a couple of fall leaves. Rust, rust, rust. the vintage signs. I like the Coke machine. And my daughter likes the telephone pole. You know, it all turned out pretty well just as I had it planned out in my mind ahead of time. And I'm quite pleased with the overall effect that I got. Now I can pan from top to bottom, side to side, and show you the whole kit. About the size of an open laptop. Andrew, do those lights work? Yes, they do, and they're pretty cool. Tell me what you think below with a respectful comment. Thanks for visiting my channel again today. I really do appreciate it. Come on back soon, and often. It's coffee time.